Okay, I think I'm on. Hello, everybody. I am Sam Irvin here in Irvin Music Studio in Asheville, North Carolina. My home studio, which also serves as the hub of my small company that offers private lessons, event entertainment, and sound production services. I teach guitar and trumpet mainly, but also offer composition coaching. I've got a couple of drum students, a ukulele student, so sort of a variety of things there. As for event entertainment, do some weddings and corporate events, mostly that sort of thing. Solo guitar, classical and jazz, guitar violin duets, maybe a trio with cello, so string combos and jazz ensembles. And the sound production department of my little project includes this live stream, 8-note that you're watching right now, 8 parentheses PM end parentheses note. I'm gonna get a nice sign that says that. A neon sign at some point with a smoke machine is my dream. So I don't have to say that at the beginning of every episode. Every Wednesday, this is a weekly live stream where I invite a different Asheville musician guest on to talk for an hour and jam for the hour. That's the entire format of the show. With the exception of this preamble, that I'm desperately, clamoring to some sort of format, layout, program for that as well. My little monologue up top. I want to talk about what we're going to do here on this live stream. I already did. Check. We're going to talk for an hour and then jam for an hour. Tonight I've got Patrick O'Neill, a cellist. He also teaches some music lessons and works in event entertainment, a full-time musician. So I'm sure we've got a lot of shop talk to chat about. He's brought his cello with a pedal board, some effects, and we're going to jam after we talk. I might send him through my analog Moog effects chain. I might hop on the drums and we could get weird, or we might play some Christmas music. We'll see. Let's see, I wrote myself up a little checklist of stuff to talk about. I like to talk about the date and the weather. It is December 21st, 2022, and it was pretty sunny today, albeit cold because it is December. Upcoming events that I've got, nothing really. Things are slowing down. I've got a guitar violin duet wedding coming up on the 30th. That is just a morning wedding at sort of an unusual time at the end of the year, right before New Year's Eve. And it's all classical music and church music, hymns, Christian hymns. And so typically I would just play classical music for the prelude and then the request for the ceremony and move on to like pop and jazz stuff. But with this gig, with this performance, we're going to stick with the classical stuff the whole time. So I rehearsed with that violinist this morning, and I'm practicing on my own to do some recording. I've got the first week of January off of lessons and no gigs, and so really aiming to get some work done on my album and get some recording in, to chop some stuff up and have some content to sling alongside these live streams and other posts about my teaching and stuff like that. Let's see, started a few minutes late today, accidentally hit the stream button for like 2 seconds and was like, oh no. And so if, I hope you found this. I think the original Facebook event that I sprayed, splashed, shotgunned all over Facebook doesn't work, so I made another one really quickly and invited everybody. But this is also streaming on YouTube and LinkedIn and Twitch and Twitter and separately the interview portion on Instagram. But I think the primary one that I would want everybody to go check out is the YouTube one. So if you haven't subscribed to Irvin Music Studio on YouTube, check that out. I post super cuts of all of the gigs that I go on. I bring a little video camera and chop it up. I post original music that I make in my studio and sort of in progress videos having to do with that, and I post my students and I playing. So I think there's some maybe one or two interesting things there. I don't know. Who knows if it's worth it. I'm going to check my sound and see if I'm coming through okay before my guest shows up. Oh, thank goodness, because I just talked a whole lot, and it would have been a bummer if I was muted for all of that. Let's see, I'm going down my checklist to make sure that I've talked about everything that I want to. So the format of the show has sort of emerged. This is the 45th episode, and I've just sort of allowed it to congeal, where it is right now. And I took it upon myself to write out a list of where it is now, because now there's a lot to juggle. Oh, one thing that I haven't talked about yet is that why I'm doing these live streams, and I think that's the last thing that I got to touch on. So I am doing these live streams for three reasons. To build community. I've been talking about it in a very selfish way. I mean, this is Irvin Music Studio's live stream, so it is all about me on some level, although I'm trying to make it all about my guests on some level too. But I am trying to build community and get to know more Asheville musicians and what they're about, and broaden my perspective of what music means sort of in general. Different approaches to music, different methodologies. I would hope that as I continue, I can invite on more than one guest at a time and build community that way, introduce other musicians to each other. Maybe, if you're watching this, we're building community, we're, socializing in some delayed way that way, where my guests get to interact with more of the community than they might without coming on this show. I don't know. So building community, and I also wanted to carve out a time in my schedule to just get creative for creative sake, or just talk about music for fun. And it's working. These jams are really satisfying a lot of the time. Really enjoy, I've got some favorite guests that have been on, and we'll see if Patrick O'Neill's going to be one of them. I've got a good feeling about it, though. We've played together once at a wedding before, and that was a pretty good time. And then, I also just want to utilize my studio and broadcast. I really want my sound production, the technology in my studio to get some attention and work, and doing this live stream is a chance for me to flex my audio visual engineering skills and practice using my technology and just get better at the whole tech, sound tech gearhead side of things. Some of the guests that come on, we do get really into chatting about gear and what it means to run a studio and a recording studio. I just talked a lot, and I think it's going to be more entertaining for everybody to listen to me talk to somebody else. Hopefully my guest, Patrick O'Neill, is going to bring the charisma and kick this live stream up a notch. So why don't you come on and help me turn it up. All right, and that's a good start, I think. Don't forget the standby.
Sam, thank you for having me on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
I'm glad you're here. So a tradition of the show is to check our sound now together and make sure that we're both heard, but you're not here yet because there's a few seconds of delay. So
I see. Nice.
We'll wait for you to get there. Okay, so
very cool.
Let's see if we both sound pretty good.
Together and make sure that
Oh, but
we're both heard. But
I talked for too long.
There's a few seconds of delay. I see now.
You sound great. All right,
good.
crystal clear.
Yeah,
Perfect.
really plumbing the depths of the vocal tones. It's really great, really feel those deep tones.
Oh yeah, there's a bit of compression happening and a little bit of a limiter and a noise reduction plugin, all inside of OBS, the streamer
Yeah.
software that I'm using.
Okay, very cool.
Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
I'm so glad to have you here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Well, when we had that wedding together, I gig with people all over the place, but you stuck out to me particularly as somebody who was, really knew the field and knew what they wanted more particularly. So, and then of course it was always nice to run into you at the gym.
That's right. Yeah. What are you doing at the Y? I've had a few people on the show that I met in the sauna at the Y.
Yes.
It's such a great community. I feel like I just said that.
Well, I think you hit it. I think you hit it on the head there. Not that people came on the show to hear us talk about the YMCA. It's great though. You should go.
And physical health is imperative to music making.
Exactly. Now we could go deep on that, but yeah, I think you hit it on the head. The steam room and the sauna. That's why I go to the Y.
Oh yeah. It's
I could work
incentive.
out. I could work out at my house, but to be able to have that reward structure after you bust your ass, that's,
totally. What are you pumping stuff? Are you on the machines in the main upstairs area?
I used to be 20 pounds heavier when I was addicted to working out. Probably a little bit unhealthy. I've kind of rethought my my workout routine to kind of aid my general health and of course allow me to play and not have any kind of physical kind of issues because I've damaged myself. But a big part of it originally was mainly lifting weights, doing Olympic lifts and things like that, and then doing a little bit of boxing and things like that.
I do feel like people get into the weightlifting in a over the top way that maybe they don't in other areas. Although I'm pretty obsessed with swimming. I'm there 5 days a week, and so sometimes it takes me 2 hours from the time that I gather everything and leave my house and get back. It's 10 hours a week. It's a part-time job to go swim every day, but I do love it. It I think is really good for mental health and creativity. Sure. Getting those juices flowing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons that I started working out consistently. Unfortunately, COVID really cut into that. Unfortunately, because everything was shut down, that kind of got me out of the habit. But it also gave me the idea. It gave me a pause to kind of rethink what I was doing. But yeah, I think the main deal was mental health because. To be a musician and to be good at what you do and to be constantly progressing, you have to have stable mental health. It's just a necessity.
And it's challenging because it's a crazy thing to do to repeat the same thing over and over again. Yeah. Or it's sort of I know crazy is probably an insensitive word. It is a challenging. It's an obstacle.
It's chaotic.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of you need. Perseverance and a longevity when it comes to the day, just making it through these gigantic days and maintaining a high level of focus.
Oh yeah, because I imagine the people that are watching, there's a fair amount of people who gig themselves, but driving is a huge part of it. And so that it can wear on you a little bit over time, because you go to a gig and, most of the time, hopefully I'm not giving away too many of my secrets, but, as a gigging musician, you don't always have all the time in the world to look at the material. So I know that was definitely true the first time I played with you. I was like, shit, I had no time to look at this.
We were flying by the seat of our pants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Is it seat of your pants or seam of your pants?
I think it's seat of your pants, either.
Seed?
The seat of your pants. That's what I've heard. Although I really don't know what the heck that even means. Exactly. I understand what it generally means, but how that saying translates into that, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. All right. That's idiomatic for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, it takes a high level of focus, and you have to have that mental stamina, and I think that over the past 6 years of like getting serious about my music career, that's really what I've been developing. Because once your stamina is gone, so does your mood, and your mental health kind of goes too. You just turn into like a kind of a big baby, and then you're just irritable and
yeah. Yeah, I feel like there is I played an extra super cold gig, or like I offered speakers and I was DJing for an event over the weekend on Sunday, and I'm extremely thankful for that opportunity, but I felt myself hit that stamina point and knew like, okay, now I'm sort of eating into the next day's like health, like sort of burning the candle at both ends.
It's a weird thing because it's actually a very clear feeling. It's like, okay, I know exactly what's happening right now. I mean, you've done it enough. I don't know, if it would always be apparent like that, but you do this enough and you're like, oh crap, like I've pushed it too far.
Yeah. You are a busy guy. I've tried to get you on here for a while, and sometimes your response is like, "I'm so busy right now, I can't text back," like in a very frantic way. No, it's not. It's not unfamiliar to me. It's funny because I reach out. I have to. Part of my job doing this. This is not a job. It's a passion project.
Of course.
It's just reaching out to like a ton of people and getting a variety of responses. And musicians do seem to be sort of over the top, like busy, especially during the fall season and the spring season. Yeah,
what are you telling me? I mean, like really from the end of September on to December, and this is the first year where it's been so pervasive. It's just like, keeps going, and I feel like that's kind of a common thing, not just with gigging, but in Asheville in general. I feel like it's moving in that direction because it's becoming such a year-round tourist place that, people are wanting to book things and they don't care if they have to do it later and later just to get it in. You know what I mean?
And so do you have a number? Like how many gigs have you played this year? Do you keep track?
I have no idea. The only time I ever calculate this stuff is when I'm doing my taxes.
All right, I'll have you back on like April 16th.
I'm like, oh shit, I owe this much money? Like, damn it. I'm still figuring that out. Being an independent contractor, it's like you got to kind of be your own like financial advisor.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. So. You got to get into the spreadsheet game, man. Are you keeping, that's the only, like I know that I've played over 50 gigs this year, but I only know because of spreadsheets and keep everything sort of checked off as I'm going.
No, for real. I need to start that habit, getting into Excel and just like mapping that out, because what happened this past year was I let it all go and then I ended up having to pay the IRS late, and luckily I made enough money this year that it wasn't an issue. But like,
you put it off to like October?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you owe like $3,000 to the IRS and you're like, ah, shit. Am I going to be able to make this back? Luckily I did, but
yeah, you will. It is difficult to think that far ahead. I have trouble with that too. Like, when May is so huge, or September or October.
Yeah, that early spring, that springtime is also another big one, another big hump in the year.
Yeah, I just get so excited because usually January through March are pretty low key, and then I'm like, April I get some good, and then May hits and I'm like, oh yeah, this income stream like exists. I have money. Like, just I'll spend all of it.
Yeah. Big baller going to all the fancy restaurants.
And then it turns out that, wait, no, I'm a musician. I'm not.
It's fun to pretend sometimes. I think my favorite times, like the only thing I really spend money on is equipment and food. I feel like in Asheville.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just taking my girlfriend out for nice meals and stuff. Like that's my idea. And then occasionally I'll like buy myself something nice, but it's got to be something I really want, because most of the time I buy things and I'm just like, I didn't need to do that.
I know. Yeah. I've got a lot of things on my list to get. I need to get my cat a cat tree.
A cat tree?
Bad. Yeah, but I want to get her a nice one, so I'm saving up.
Is that, what is a cat tree? Is that like a Christmas tree made out of cardboard?
Oh no, it's like you've got a dog, right? So maybe you're a dog guy. But if you're,
I love cats too. It's just my girlfriend happens to have a dog.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Yeah.
A cat tree is not like a tree, but it's like you've seen them, like a post and a platform, and then like a little kitty house, and then like a thing up top with like a cushion.
Oh yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's like the high life of cat ownership, right? You get the cat tree.
Oh yeah, I know, it's pretty cush. But I think Christmas is coming. I didn't even mention that this is the Christmas episode.
Well, I like the background and the Santa thing you got going on here.
Thanks. This
Is
turns
this a giant
on.
snow globe? What is
This
thing?
it is, yeah.
Oh, wonderful! Look at that.
Oh yeah,
Christmas
isn't that
cheer.
beautiful? But
is.
Unfortunately on the camera, since it lights up, nobody can see
Oh, because it's just
what's
too bright.
happening. So that's why I
like
had it
this
off.
little thing right here. It's like a little hanging tree.
I know, it's
Pretty.
nice. It was my mom's, like, growing up. So it's a childhood sort of thing. Yeah.
This year, for the first time, I got a Christmas tree for myself.
Wow, nice. A real one with sap and everything?
Yeah, man, and I don't know. I was like kind of like a Grinch, like a little bit, like about it, because my girlfriend was like, "We gotta get a tree." It'll be thing. I'm like, like, just like grumpy about Christmas. And so we go there, and I look, and I'm like, "Oh, this is so expensive. Why are these things so?" I'm like being
Oh no.
a total curmudgeon.
Was it
about the whole
difficult to
thing.
choose the right one? Because I always encounter that of like, I haven't found the perfect one.
Yeah, I just wasn't invested at that point to be thinking like that. It was mainly like, how cheap can I get out of this situation? So we ended up finding a small tree at Lowe's or whatever, and I'm like, all right, it's just gonna get this, and I'm gonna get the stand, and we got it back. And then, my girlfriend was so cheery and so happy the whole time, despite, that's why she's great, because she offsets me in some of my moods and vice versa sometimes.
Sound like a lucky guy.
I am. Anyways, we get home and we put the lights on it and we stand the whole thing up, and all of a sudden it's like I care a tremendous amount about this when I didn't before. I'm like being all like over like being all controlling about how the tree is actually being set up and how the wires are going around it. And so I start to notice like what I'm doing, and finally Grace she makes this topper out of a bottle and some cloth, so it's like this angel topper.
Oh yeah.
And then we light the thing up, and it was
On
weird.
fire? Like you burn it in the house?
No, I'm not that bitter about Christmas. I'm close, but not quite that bitter. So yeah, I plugged the thing in, and it was just like, it was weird, man. It was like I actually felt something.
Whoa, weird.
Yeah.
You gotta let yourself do that more, man.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
good
yeah.
to feel stuff. It's good for you.
I know, right? It was like in Sunny in Philly. It's like when what's his name?
Danny DeVito.
Not Danny, Mac, and then the other, Dennis. When Dennis says to Mac, he's like, yeah, when I used to have feelings. He's like, you don't have feelings? It's like, I have feelings every day.
Right.
Yeah.
You should have feelings every day. Yeah, Dennis is a psychopath. I like the episode where Frank DeVito's character finds the painting that he loves, and he has like this moment with the painting. Do you know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
it turns out to be
He
like
just
Hitler's
stares at
painting
music
or whatever.
plays, and he feels something. He's like, oh my god.
Oh no!
His
That's
whole
not the
life
Hitler
has
painting.
changed.
Yeah,
Not
that's
the
when they
Hitler painting.
not the Hitler painting. That's when they go to the art gallery.
Yeah, and he wears that cool wig.
He pretends to be like Blagonzo or something, Blagonzio or something ridiculous.
That show is genius. Are you
too funny.
watching or listening to the podcast?
They have a podcast? No way.
Oh, it's worth checking out. Yeah,
Okay.
it's on YouTube too. They're sort of my competition,
Oh yes, yeah.
Or I'm their competition.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. Well, we should stop talking about them.
You're right. Yeah, don't stop watching this and go watch the
Afterward,
It's
yeah.
Always Sunny
Afterward.
podcast. But it is, afterwards. It is hilarious and it's
Yeah.
great. And it's, they're just telling stories, and they're like, I don't know, it's interesting to tell stories. Your story about the Christmas tree was enthralling. It's just nice to talk and story tell,
Yeah. Well, it's nice. Christmas is like in your adult life, sometimes it doesn't have the same meaning as when you were a kid. You know what I mean? Because obviously for so many different reasons, you don't realize all the things that were done for you until they're not. So then when you start to do them for yourself, it's like that's when you really get genuine appreciation for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just having that kind of atmosphere in your house and participating in, a kind of something that garners like a positive attitude or like a cheer or just like a reason to be happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in the midst of like near the longest day of the year, like super dark all the time.
Yeah, it's easy to just get into a bad mood, like, and not for any, you could call it this or that, but in my opinion, people are just in bad moods because they choose to be in bad moods.
You're real stoic about it. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, let's put a pin in that. Yeah. Let's come back to that. But when I was a kid, I remember my dad, I was like in 3rd or 4th grade. I don't know when the appropriate age is, but I was getting the hint that Santa Claus wasn't.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if I should say it here. I'm getting nervous, so I won't. But we set up like a VHS recorder on the wood stove that had like handles, and he like after I went to bed set up a bunch of pulleys and like fishing wire, like fishing line, and that made like the handle open by itself and the door open by itself.
No
and
way.
Said that like cameras couldn't pick up Santa because he's made out of magic or whatever, but you could see him like exiting the furnace.
Oh my God.
And I like took it to school and was like, see you guys, like.
Oh no.
So probably ricocheted horribly socially, but a very sweet sort of thing to do for your kid. Yeah.
I know, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing that he would do something like that. I'm trying to think. Back in the day, Christmas, it's funny. It's one of those things like Santa. It's like you believe in Santa, then you don't believe in Santa, and then you get old enough and have kids of your own, and then you become the Santa. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's like a full cycle. You know what I mean?
Oh, that is wild. Yeah.
It's like, who's the real Santa here? There is one. But yeah, no, I remember when my mother. I must have been about 7 years old, and I don't know where I got it in my head. Maybe some kid said this, or I just was like reading into things, and I'm like, Mom, does Santa really exist for like going to Myrtle Beach Mall or whatever to do some kind of errand? And she's like, honey, I'm focused on something. Let's not talk about this. And so I just keep at it. I'm like, if he's not real, you got to tell me. That's not cool if you don't tell me. So I just like, how kids, I was probably one of the most annoying childs ever. Like I just would not stop. Yeah. And so finally, in her frustration, she just
to be fair, going to the store with your mom sucked. It was very terrible. Boring.
Yeah,
I'm like, here, you can't like drive, you can't like leave.
Exactly. I mean, and from an adult perspective, I know that when I'm going to store, especially around like those kinds of seasons, it's not necessarily like a totally laid back thing. It's like, I got to get this done at this time. There's certain stresses on it, right? So God bless my mother. She's a wonderful woman, but everyone has their limits. So she's like, Jesus. She's like, no, he's not real. Okay?
Oh no.
I just looked at her and just like, just like immediately.
So she lied to you.
She just started crying.
Right.
Yeah, she lied to me. It was terrible.
Lied to you. That's
I only found out the truth later. Yeah.
I am horrified right now that one of my students has chosen today to watch this live stream. My little one. I have some littler students. I wonder if I've got any that believe in Santa Claus that would be watching this.
You gotta, because basically Santa represents the Christmas spirit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And
which is very cool.
Yeah, which is very.
Notice the sunglasses
absolutely.
and the Santa.
Santa's one of the coolest.
This is very. I didn't have time to put anything in this pocket.
Oh my God! I did not realize that.
I meant to put it. I have a candy cane upstairs, and I meant to at some point just whip it out.
But I didn't. When you first offered for a secondary sweater, I didn't realize just how cool yours was. So I feel bad now.
You made the right choice actually, because the other sweater has buttons, but the buttons are on the wrong side, so it's definitely a lady sweater. And it was going to be very difficult for me not to bring that up. So it's a bit of a trap.
I'd be like, dude, you sabotaged me right from the beginning. Let's see how this is going.
So I do want to get back to stoicism and feeling, and also like it sounds like you're like sort of maybe a critical part of you came out, like the part of you that's like good at analysis, and that is typically very useful in music, I think. Picking up on any flaws or anything that needs to be worked on, or organizing music, getting into that headspace of of the minutia and the detail-oriented, criticalness, and then sometimes it comes out when it doesn't need to, like when you're decorating a Christmas tree, and can interfere with other parts of your life.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we talked a bit about like mental health being a must for music and in general, like music making.
Yeah.
Do you, somebody on the, I wondered, because I feel like practice is pretty compulsory at this point for me. Like if I don't practice enough, I start to get grumpy or like, start to get in an ill mood or feel like blocked in a certain way. Do you experience that?
Yeah. I feel like the past 5 years it's been kind of getting back into a standard practice, and not just a standard practice, but one that works for me. Right. One of the things I really love about music is that it's totally up to interpretation, and that's down to the technique and even the practice. Obviously, you have to understand what you're talking about in the fundamentals of what you're dealing with. But once you understand those types of things, you can look at it from any angle. You can go really outside of the box with it. So one thing that I really enjoyed about my practice when I'm really able to focus on the things I want to focus on. Is being able to, consider what I've been taught, but also to put it aside and to just think, mainly for me, it's been from a physical standpoint. How am I using my body? How much is this actually affecting what I can do? Right. So yeah, that kind of ties back into the gym thing. And just like having an ease, because I think when you're in college, you're forced to practice so much and you're under such pressure, there's a certain level of tension that you're dealing with at all time, mentally, physically, and emotionally, right? So I think when you get out of school and, whether you want to make money, whether you want to do well, it's all up to you. Nobody's like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do your homework or something like that, you know what I mean? So you can for me, I kind of just totally went back to square one, into the basics, and said, how can I do this in a way that one feels easy and I enjoy it?
Yeah. Did you get another, like a teacher, like another cellist to give you another pair of eyes to give any tips or pointers?
No, I mean, I'm not going to get into it, but this point in my life, I did not want to listen to anyone. It was like one of those things where from a young age, I was always like anti-authority. If anybody was trying to tell me what to do or say that they knew the best way to do something, I was like, all right, well, then I'm not listening to you. Right. That was like the common thing. And so I really, from a young age, especially I struggled with ADD, specifically oral ADD, which just meant every time somebody talked to me, it would just go in one ear and just right out the other. I think that was kind of a defense mechanism because I didn't want to hear things, and so I would just kind of automatically edit things out. So anyway, as I got older, to function in a society and not just be like, just not be able to do things or accomplish things, I had to learn and to convince myself to do things and to listen to other people when I didn't want to. Right.
Yeah. So, I think so much about our belief systems are survival oriented, right? Like,
big time.
The very things that you're trying to fix now is because you have to fix them to survive. But the things that you're trying to fix, you needed those to survive at that time in your life.
Exactly. When you don't quite have that independence yet in the way that you want it, or it's just not working for you, so you have to allow other people to guide you to some extent. Of course, you got to pick the right ones. You got to pick the right people to guide you, because it's not as if there are people out there who don't want the best for you, but they may not be compatible with the way you operate. So as I got older, I really learned how to enjoy things, rather because the pressures were off, and I wanted to be able to play in a way that each note, even when I was practicing, I was enjoying. And I found that there was a correlation between enjoying the tone that was coming out and the actual level of technique and ability that I had.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's an interesting relationship because we, in our, like, you are the first level of, like, you are the audience, like the first level audience, you know, like it has to be pleasurable for you to play.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'm still self-conscious about my playing sometimes, you know.
I mean, we all are to some
Right,
extent.
yeah. I don't know if any musician that I know is like, yep, nailed it. Like, that was perfect. You
They
know.
probably don't sound very good if that's their attitude.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, nailed it, done. That's like those.
I don't need to get any better.
Yeah, that's like the attitude of like pop stars.
Right, yeah. Or at least the myth, like, right, the projection.
The projection, exactly.
But so in that self-consciousness, though, but I think the good that I'm striving for is entangled in so much study and so much practice and so much technicality that I've experienced that the audience hasn't gone through that same work, and so maybe the good that threshold is a little different, you know.
Oh,
so
for
there's
sure.
a level of trust that, like, oh, if I work hard and think if it's pleasurable for me, it's probably pleasurable for them.
Absolutely, and definitely if it's pleasure for you, because your standard for pleasure on hearing music is much higher than the average person's.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a bit of a safeguard there, you know.
But it's difficult to gain that trust, I think. I just had my student recitals last weekend.
Congrats.
I should have mentioned that. Yeah,
Congrats.
thanks. I'm so proud.
Heck yeah.
So proud of all those little students.
What's the age range, if you don't mind me asking?
So I did have one 8-year-old, I think was the youngest. Maybe she was 7. But she had just begun trumpet, so she certainly appeared more young as well, or younger, and played Mary Had a Little Lamb. And then I've had a student since 2014, Toby, who is now a senior, and so I've watched him like grow up, and he blew everybody away. I think he literally on trumpet, but you know, everybody was like, wow, how long has he been taking lessons? Well, this is crazy. I think he's better at trumpet than me, but it's still, I think, useful for me to talk jazz theory with him and to give him a perspective on his playing and, you know, a sort of backboard to bounce ideas off of.
Well, I mean, there's a kind of an understanding of maturity that goes beyond technique. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I do have a lot of adult students. Maybe a third of my students are adults.
Yeah.
And I enjoy teaching adults a lot. And you can go a little deeper, and there is a level of trust in what you're saying too. No, if there are questions, sometimes the kid's like, I don't like doing it like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, that can't be the end of the conversation. It's like, yeah, maybe you don't, but I swear you will like it down the line.
I try to come off as just imposing enough to where they just won't even dare to say something like that.
Oh yeah, I think I'm a pretty cozy teacher. I'm pretty jovial.
Like I try to mix it up, but you know, I think any good teacher understands that you can't just be hitting one emotional note the whole time or mental note. You have to vary it up, right? So that the kid is not just getting dragged out on one thing. Adults can do that, but kids need that variability. I'm sure you've understood that in your lessons and had that dynamic many times, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've learned a lot about how hard to be on a young person, because I think when I was first teaching lessons, I would just let that kid have it a little too hard, especially coming from college, you know? Like, wow, you didn't do your work at all. This is, you know, very disappointing to me. Sometimes I'll say that I'm disappointed, or sort of joke like, shame.
Yeah.
Shame, you should have practiced. I know other teachers, I know personally other teachers that won't mention the word practice, and they don't put any pressure on the students at all.
Yeah.
And I think they have great retention, you know. And one teacher in particular, Andy John, comes to mind, who said something very wise to me, that like a lot of, you know, people come to lessons for a lot of different reasons. You know, not everybody's trying to become a great player.
Yeah.
Some people do just need some other support, or like a role model, or want access to like a wise person, you know, or like or a mature, I think might have been the word that you used a minute ago. But so now I do try to, I want my students to understand that like there are, I don't know, like if you're going to be a great, I don't know if great players are taking lessons with me. You know what I mean? My guitar teacher would say that to me a lot. Like if you were not a protege, what's the word I'm looking for?
Prodigy?
A prodigy. Like you wouldn't be taking lessons. You wouldn't be here with me right now. You'd be performing.
Yeah, right.
But there should be some understanding that that you can, the instrument will take you places and give you things, and that you can get benefits out of it that are at least correlative to the work that you put into it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I view cello not just as a means of having a career, but also the means of having some kind of spiritual practice. Yeah. Because I really found that the rules and the laws that govern how I can play the cello have a tremendous amount of correlation to the real world. You know, I think one of the ideas I was talking about with the student was just a simple idea of string crossings, right? And basically what they were doing is they were trying to combine the two motions of string crossing and moving the bow across the string. And I was telling them that it doesn't work if you make those two actions codependent. They're not one thing. They have to be independent and cooperative. So you have to change the bow and then you do the string. You can't do some kind of like weird amalgamation of the two. That's not a good technique.
Right, yeah.
Right, so that would be,
sense.
one little example of that. But yeah, I mean, it's the more I understand and I get intimate with my instrument, and not to mention, I'm sure you experience this as well, when you're going back constantly over these fundamentals with students, you begin to reinterpret them to yourself in different ways and open up new avenues of thought.
Yeah, I mean, the depth possible is infinite, you know, of just how good can you play a note.
Yeah.
And I think that it's the reason, I don't know, teaching lessons is rewarding in a lot of ways, but you know, the impetus for me to teach lessons and to gig at events is to up my skills to be able to articulate the creative expression that I'm interested in, you know, to tinker in a more elevated, sophisticated way.
Yeah, absolutely, because as musicians and anybody watching this who plays, maybe not professionally, but it really has their heart in it, the pleasures that come with that and the experiences and the way that it enhances your own being is second to none. You know, I'd say one of the greatest highs for me in my life has been standing on a stage. I mean, maybe this sounds really egotistical, but it's just hearing a bunch of people applause. There's nothing greater than that. And not just the fact that
you can see it in the kids' faces at recitals. Yeah. There's a human thing that applause is.
Exactly. And it's not like, oh, great me, look how great I am, awesome, you're clapping for me. It's like I put myself out there in something that I held closely to me, and you guys also appreciated it, you know. And that's a really big moment, because like how many other things are validated in that way?
Right, yeah. And so this is a great time for me to say, subscribe on YouTube. Let me know you're watching.
Click share and like.
Click share.
Ring the bell.
It means a lot.
As a Patreon too, I'm sure.
I should get the Patreon thing.
You gotta get the Patreon. No, dude, I'm terrible at social media.
Right.
Yeah. Honestly, you could probably teach me everything I could possibly know about.
I don't know. I need to get better at it too. I would, it'd be nice to I don't know, grow and get an assistant. I would love an intern or something. One day.
There you go. You just got to get a person
I've got somebody.
help.
I should have a new video for my logo in January. Like just a little splash, like logo comes together and then falls away and in some sort of circle. So like for the please wait thing, or at the beginning and end of videos that I post.
You know any good graphic designers?
Excited. I've got one working on it. She's just so busy that I'll get it in January.
Nice.
And I like her style a lot. I don't know if I should say who it is until I actually get the thing.
Sure.
Yeah. It's exciting. She does claymation stuff too.
Really?
I was tempted to get her to go down that road, but I didn't want to overcomplicate the very first project that we did with some multimedia stuff.
I loved claymation when I was a little kid. I absolutely loved doing it.
Now you hate it?
I just never did it again. I used to have one of those old camcorders with the little cassettes.
Oh, you used to love doing it. That's awesome.
So the way that I would do it is I would just take and I would just stop and start the pause button.
Okay.
For each frame. And it was usually terribly violent, like one dude would just eat the other dude or like do something terrible. It's like the mind of a kid, like that's all you think of, like awful narratives. But claymation has always been something that's I really loved and cared about.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
You need it like in your basement, like a train set, like those dudes who just have like the giant train set that they care about.
Yes, absolutely.
Or like a studio.
Yeah. No, I would really like, I don't know, are you a Star Trek fan?
More of a Star Wars guy.
Star Wars guy. Okay. Yeah. Well, I happen to be one of the rare people who are both. Or maybe that's a common thing. I have no idea. Comment in the bottom.
Yeah. Star Trek, Star Wars.
Star Trek and Star Wars, dudes.
Where do you land?
Well, I would say the music for Star Wars 1,000,000 times over.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of like the actual in terms of like, well, Star Trek, I mean, it's like a totally different thing because one is a movie and the other is a show. I know that Star Trek has been a movie many times, but if we're talking about
and
like
Star Wars is a show.
Yeah, like my favorite iteration was The Next Generation. So you have episodic things where it begins and resolves within the same episode. So it's a totally different thing. But I just really loved the complex social dynamics that they played on. And I think it'd be fun to do something as childlike as claymation while overlapping incredibly adult themes and concepts onto it.
I think that would be cool, yeah. I don't know of anything like that. I mean, Robot Chicken is brutal.
That's like what I did as a kid, just people's heads exploding and guts and all that. But
have you watched Seth MacFarlane's space show? I forget what it's called now.
It's a space show?
Yeah, it's live action.
Oh, yeah, it was,
The Orville.
The Orville, it kind of reminded me of that old movie with Tim Allen in it.
Yeah, Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest.
It is sort of like that, and it's irreverent and stuff. The first 2 seasons have like Family Guy-esque jokes. They've also got the Family Guy-esque full orchestra soundtrack. I don't know if you knew that about Family Guy, but it's like a full orchestra.
Well, the music is great.
For it. Yeah.
That's one of the things that pulled me into that show when I was really young. So the music was so good.
But the Orville is super good too. The first season, the first 2 seasons are full of all those jokes, and then the 3rd season came out recently. No jokes, or like 10% as many jokes. It's wild. They just took this like left turn into like a serious sci-fi show, and I cried at the big finale. It was great.
It was good.
It was so good. It was moving.
I do like Seth MacFarlane, man. He's got a good vision. You know what I mean? And
Ted was touching.
Ted was touching.
Yeah.
That sounds like a double entendre.
I did not mean for it to sound good. It was a teddy bear. You're supposed to cuddle Ted.
Oh man. Yeah, no, he kind of gets that sentiment and also that kind of dry wit or that kind of like, like harsh, like kind of like politically incorrect humor. That a lot of us hate to hear, but silently in private we're all laughing at. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I know. I tried to watch Family Guy again recently, and I don't know. I can do the jokes after jokes. It sounds like some joke writers just got out of college or something. Like some English majors just got out of college and they're like, I can write jokes too. And then it's just like 1,000 jokes.
Well, that's why South Park in that episode where they criticized.
Right, with the walruses that had the balls.
The manatees. The idea manatees. They hit it on the head. It was so good, you know. Also an amazing bit of, satire has always been something I've always really, really liked and appreciated, because I think you can explore ideas in satire that normally you can't talk about literally, you know. Being in society, there's kind of an effect where you kind of glean, you know, certain things, you kind of understand certain things, but they're not being said. You know what I mean? Yeah. Kind of like more subtle parts of the way that people behave and the way that people interact, you know?
Yeah. I've been watching these Big Think videos on YouTube. Have you seen those? Have you seen this? Have you heard about
Big
this?
Think? It sounds, it's like a little light bulb and it's like black and white.
I think so, yeah.
I think I've seen a couple of videos.
I forget the term, but he was talking about, some psychologist, specialist was talking about this phenomenon when most people in a given society or culture believe something, but everybody believes that most of everybody else don't believe that thing. So they tend to act and say that they don't believe the thing that they believe in because they think everybody else doesn't believe
because they're afraid of it. Well, that's why, you know, I feel like, and I think as a musician, that's one of the things that really brought me to music. I remember when I was really young, my mother put on the radio or the cassette tape or something. She put a Beethoven symphony, and it was so overwhelming. I just immediately burst into tears and begged her to turn it off.
Okay, yeah.
But you know, it was because it made me feel so many things at once, and I think in that music there's such a potent level of honesty, you know, because these composers, they're bearing their souls, you know, to you. For your enjoyment, for your experience, to share in on that, what their experience that allowed them to compose that type of music. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but yeah, it just seems like a real honesty. I've always really appreciated that because that's something I noticed that's not really out there in the world. People are afraid to be criticized for what they think. And that's.
I mean, I feel that fear.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not.
There are real consequences.
Again, I'm not. Thank you for pushing back on that. I'm not above that. Let me not give the idea that I'm just like willy-nilly with it. But you know, it's so important to be honest about what you're saying, what you think, and what you're saying, regardless if it's good or bad, or whether it's politically incorrect or bad. But it's important to have afterward be flexible, right, in maybe altering your or growing your perception. As it's not just like a solid thing. Even if it's like a really fantastic idea, everything has room to grow. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes in society, when we spend so much time kind of hiding truths from each other, we really kind of waste precious moments of life not knowing, you know, maybe things we had in common, maybe pain we shared, maybe joys we shared, you know, where it's just like, you get old and then you're like, that's gone, and then you're like, why should have just said all this stuff? Like, why didn't I do that? Yeah. You know what I mean?
There are, you know, there is a level of discernment to have about that kind of thing, you know, because you don't want to share a sad thing at the wrong time, bring down the mood. But also, when you share a sad thing at the right time, it invites others to share sad things. Yeah. So what's the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to you?
Oh, no. How dark do you want this to go? I don't think so.
I did want to just dig in or drill down on like how music just is what it is, you know? Yeah. I think it's fascinating to think about like Christian music, like everything, all high art, or you know, so much high art was Christian, you know, for so long, and there was this huge distinction between programmatic music and absolute music, and people, like somebody would write a piece of music that was based on some piece in the Bible or some poetry, and then another musician could say like, no, your music's wrong, like it doesn't address this feeling in the right way. That's so interesting to me, that there could be a rightness or wrongness, you know. But I think most music now is more absolute music, is just music. It is what it is. It's sort of self-contained, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, with humor, with a comedian, you know the jokes are good because you laugh, right? That's the beauty of artistic expression. It's compulsory. You don't choose to enjoy something, or you don't choose to laugh, or you don't choose to shed a tear. It just happens. So I feel like that's like ultimately the real judge of the whole thing. Does that music make you feel something? If it doesn't, they did it wrong. Or it's not the right music for you. You know what I mean? But, you know, that's the real judgment of it. It's a compulsory thing. It's not of the intellect, you know?
There are so many different kinds of music and so much new music to experience, and I am terrible at finding new music. I'm really trying to do the Spotify, although I got Amazon Music for the hi-fi quality. Are you listening to a hi-fi streaming system, or are you on Spotify?
No, I didn't even, I mean, I've heard of hi-fi music, but I didn't even know where like I could find something like that. Is it really that much different?
I was blown away.
Really?
Yeah. You've got to listen on, you know, I think most headphones will support higher quality streaming. But like Amazon Music or Apple Music or Tidal or Deezer, there are several streaming platforms that, like Amazon Music, when they stream in Ultra HD, it's 10 times the quality of Spotify. So the depth of it is so intense.
Well, here's my immediate question. Just like you have to have a high definition TV to receive that kind of signal, what kind of hardware do you need to be able to hear that?
Right, that's a super good question. Yeah, I don't know.
Like, what is the
I've got these awesome Focal Studio monitors, which is where I was really like hearing the difference. But
I see.
Then I just have some like not special cruddy like $100 Sony earbuds, you know, that I was listening to it on, and could still perceive a difference. A clarity, you know, but it could be psychosomatic. Is that the right word?
I don't know. You're a musician. I trust you.
All right, good. Thanks. We're developing trust here. This live stream's going well. But yeah, I think that's great. But then as soon as I got that and got invested in the higher quality, I realized that Spotify does have the ultimate like discover new music sort of application. You know, it's got the weekly Discover Weekly or whatever. But I sort of murder my Spotify in my lessons too by looking up all the songs or like for gigs, you know.
No, Spotify's great. I mean, I basically just bum off of my girlfriends and you know, listen to what I want to look at. Yeah, it's hard because I've got like so many old favorites. You know, I find it's seldom that I'll add like a new song. I'll listen to new music, but it's seldom I'll add something that I'm like, I really want to hear that again. Like one of my old favorite songs is by Bobby Caldwell, What You Won't Do for Love. And it's got one of the best lines in there I think I've ever heard. And it's like, only in my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do. You know? And so it's just something about that line really speaks.
So you want love to coerce you into acting a certain way that's unnatural?
Yeah, well, no, I think to me what that means basically is first of all, it's based in a most natural kind of state, because when you feel love, it elevates your state of mind and to considering things and to doing things you normally wouldn't do. Right, so that's kind of what that means to me.
That's nice. Yeah.
I mean, I look at it as more of a general sense, not just like wooing a woman. You know, I think of it in the sense of like a much broader spectrum application of love.
Sort of like an acceptance.
Yeah.
Serenity.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, you know, like higher states of mind. I mean, I'm sure that there's been times where, like, we go back to mental health. There's been times where something has happened that's been really challenging. Maybe you're not eating right, not working out or something. The state of mind is not good, right? It's not awesome. It kind of goes back to that idea, like, angry people do angry things. Predictable. Happy people do happy things in the moment.
That's true.
Right. So it's like.
But you were feeling very stoic about it as well too.
Oh, geez. Well,
you mentioned that.
It's constantly switching back and forth. I feel like I'm, like kind of bipolar in that sense, where I'll switch from being very kind of pessimistic to being like more open about possibilities. Right. Yeah, it's tough.
I'm not trying to get you.
No, it's tough because
these contradictions are real. That it's the human condition to struggle with that sense.
Well, you just made me think of a really profound experience I had. I used to go to this chamber music festival called Green Mountain Chamber Music Festival when I was a teenager in Vermont, Burlington. Amazing place. Burlington, Vermont. If you want to go there, they have this whole street of just all the most unique buskers you have ever seen in your life, like from every act you can think of. And then it's open. You can just get there and like start playing a little bit. So really nice town.
Yeah.
So we were there, and there was a big master class going on, and there was a number of older South Korean students who were touring in the camp for a period. They were there for like a week or two, and so this one violinist, she was playing, I believe she was playing Brahms Violin Concerto in A, and she was playing, I don't know if she played the whole thing. I think she played the last movement. For those of you who've seen the movie There Will Be Blood, that's the title. That's the song that it goes to after the title, after he whacks that dude over the head.
Okay.
It says I'm finished, right? But yeah, she was unbelievably good. I mean, so good. And then obviously that was parroted by the clinician, the masterclass guy, who was like, there's nothing really I can say. That was perfect. Like, I don't know what to say to you. Like, he admitted that to me. He's like, he tried to touch on a couple things, but again, he was just like, you're out of my league. I don't even know what to say to you. So she was so good. While I was sitting there and having this experience, it elevated my mind state to a level that I had not experienced before, because I was kind of like tangentially, I was vicariously living through her. She was kind of able to give me that experience. Mm-hmm. And I had this epiphany in that moment, and I realized that in the world, the things that apparently seem to completely contradict each other also coexist. And so that kind of helped me to see from a bit of a broader perspective, rather than having to, be in this kind of place of duality of picking this or that, understanding that you have to exist in a place between contradicting elements.
Yeah, you got to be proud of your performance and your work, and you also have to be self-conscious and humble about it.
There you go.
What a nice place to land, because we're out of the chat portion. Are there any hanging threads or anything you want to plug, or any last thoughts?
Oh, shout out to my mother. No, I'm just kidding.
Moms. Thanks for moms.
Yes.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, moms. And dads sometimes.
Yeah. Yes, dads deserve credit too. Patrick O'Neill.
Yes.
Cellist. Teacher.
Yeah.
Extraordinaire. Performer. Let's move on to the performing bit. If you're watching on Instagram, we're going to move over to, I'm just going to turn that off so you can find it on YouTube. Everybody else, we're going to take a little break and be right back with some jams.
All right, let's do it.
Thanks, let's do it. Okay.
Sick, that was fun.
So fun. Bye, Instagram. Okay. Please wait. let's see. Let's start, with just some A minor goodness.
Yeah, sure.
Like, feel it out. What I'm sending out to here.
Okay.
Do you want your own amp to hear yourself more?
Well, just so it's balanced a little bit. So, also if I use effects, I want to be able to hear that.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh, then use your headphones.
Okay, cool.
Can you hear you? Absolutely there is, yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Until I get on the drums.
I do have a speaker in the car, but it's fine.
We should have figured it out
Yeah.
beforehand.
All right, let's do it.
Alright, yeah, how about... Oh, you can't?
There we go.
on a mountain somewhere. Oh yeah, people can't hear us unless we. I mean, it doesn't matter.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
That's good. I want to hop on the drum set and pull it
Okay.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. It's a little wad up. Let's get some funk going on. Not now, but maybe towards the end of the thing. Do you know any Bill Withers stuff?
Oh, I don't know. I think I've got one thing. What is it though?
Ain't No Sunshine?
Ain't No Sunshine. Yeah, yeah. We could do that if you want.
It's kind of nice too. Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
It is. I definitely want to do at least a couple of Christmas tunes.
Okay, for sure.
All right. I think this is coming through over there. Yeah. Let me get some cello. There we go. Now I can hear it. Anything coming out of that should work, yeah. Yeah, maybe bring up the high stuff, and I'll give you more you too.
Okay.
Are you hearing the drums in the track?
I think so. It's a little hard to tell. Because
Right.
I can hear them through that microphone.
Is that, I just gave you more volume in general.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Alright, sweet. I'll make you a little louder. Okay, let's try all that. Can you do a really short one? Keep it simple. Can I set up a bass line for you to rock over?
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Okay, so you should be able to hear it. I should be able to hear this.
What do you like, octave? Oh, it's the keyboard. Nice.
So start and stop.
Can I get a different sound? What was that sound you originally had it on? That was sick.
I have no clue. But you can mess with this. Okay, cool. The range is huge.
Yeah, it really is. A lot of those things are grandmother up.
So the bottom left blue button.
This one?
Yes.
Cool. And then I just start it and then stop it.
Yeah, try to move those cables that you're stomping out of the way.
Oh, oops. Yeah, I got the big stompy boots on. I wore the wrong shoes for this.
with those gigantic boots.
Yeah, sorry, man. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Stop on this too hard.
Definitely.
Just get crazy sounds.
Yeah, you can shred.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how good I'm getting that sound. That's great.
We'll check it out after.
Yeah.
Alright, you probably don't want this one. Maybe this is my favorite. I think this would be a pleasure if you could
The
do
Christmas song?
It's got some flats to worry about.
Flat.
Is that good?
Oh, I know this, yeah.
Who's what? Oh, I still didn't turn it on. Oh, maybe that meant it was on the whole time. No, I guess we would have known.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so what else do we want to do? Frosty, have yourself. Let's do the heartfelt one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pretty slow.
Jingle Bell Rock. Yeah, let's do Jingle Bell Rock. I didn't want him to play this in gig music, but nobody wants to play this song.
I got somebody finally requested That's Amore at a wedding, and that's how I felt about that. Finally!
That's a good one.
It's so good. Alright, let's do it. A 1, a 2, and a 1, 2, ready. struggled so much to get the thing. Do you mind if we do a couple more, even though we're over time? All right, nice. We gotta do this.
Of course.
Yeah. Why don't you start it off?
It's the first time I've done this before, actually.
Oh, like sight reading, so.
Well, I mean sight reading a million times, but like this is from the real book or whatever. What's it called?
Yeah, the Christmas real book.
Christmas real book. Yeah, I never really tried these melodies before.
The changes are nuts, right? Some of these chords are awesome.
Yeah, they're crazy. Oh man.
Let's not do that one. Or that one. Or that one. Well, actually, this one has a sweet note in it. Let's try that.
Okay. How's that the fastest?
Have a holly jolly Christmas.
Oh good, I can dick around. It's very simple.
Yeah, 1, 2, ready. 1, 2, 3. beginning to look a lot like Christmas around the world. Let us know. You can stop me on any of these.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. I always like that one. I don't know what it is about it.
Yeah.
I think it's the triplets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I how high does this go? Okay, maybe I won't do That's okay. That one's harder than like all the other ones we played before.
That was the weirdest.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. That was the weirdest chord progression so far, by far.
Well.
There's definitely one more I wanted to get to. Oh, Silent Night is so good. We Wish You a Merry Christmas and Winter Wonderland.
Sure.
I think those are the three I wouldn't care about. Let's do Silent Night.
Anyone is fine. Okay. Make it feel a little higher this one.
Goes to the E. Let's finish with that one.
Okay.
So Winter Wonderland.
Let's do it.
Oh yeah, I remember now. feel anything? Are you having feelings?
Feelings all the time. But only around Christmas.
Right. Christmas
Rest of
cheer.
the year. It's like
Flat line.
it's just a real flat line. Yeah, that's right.
1, 2, 3. Let's do the repeat.
Okay.
Oh, that repeat.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, let's do that. The magic's not lost, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
They almost lost a long battle now. Extra fast now?
Sure.
All the way through. Crazy fast.
Let's do it. This reminds me of Winnie the Pooh movie.
All right, full repeats. Here we go. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. It's fun to take some of these up a notch. You want to try one more fast one?
One more. Not We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
Well, we can do that one, yeah.
Let's do We Wish You a Merry Christmas and start it slow and then get faster every time and see how fast we can get.
Okay, there you go. Let's do that. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right, well, this was fun.
This was totally fun, yeah. Oh, here, let me turn the volume down there so we can turn our things on and say a final goodbye.
Absolutely.
Mark this thing on.
Okay.
Let
I'm
it-
on. Are you on?
I'm so turned on.
Okay, great. I know, yeah. Exhilarating stuff. Literally.
Yes, very.
Literally exhilarating. Thank you so much for being on.
Absolutely.
Live stream.
Sam's a pleasure. Thanks for
It
having
was
me
a
on.
pleasure. Yeah, I'd love to have you back, especially when I get like more people going at once.
Of course.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool to get like a full group of people talking and messing around. You know Alex Travers?
No, I think we're Facebook friends, but I don't know.
Oh, that's
Should I have him
funny.
on?
100%. He's probably one of the more, one of the most interesting people in Asheville, I would say.
Okay.
Hopefully he didn't hear me say that.
Well, you proved to be an interesting guest. So
Thank you. Well,
yourself. So
I'm
keep
glad
up.
it was entertaining.
Keep it up. Keep up the interestingness.
Absolutely.
And thanks for coming on. I'll be here next week with somebody else, Graham Whitley, I think, to do looping stuff.
Oh.
He's got the exact looper that you.
Oh, really? That I was just talking about?
Yeah.
It's funny.
All right. Thanks and bye, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Blah, blah, blah.